Jill, do you want to explain the handouts that we just got, or you or Kim?
I can start with just the three revenue streams on this one. It's the legal sheet. The real estate taxes, or the property taxes, and Kim explained this. When we get that figure from Teddy, this is all in arrears. So it will be collected, and she deducted 3% as a cushion already, because that's what the county does. So those figures were given to us. These are not estimates. The sales tax we broke out into just regular sales tax and then online sales tax, which we started collecting from the state, or the state started giving us in 2017. And as you can see from the online sales tax, first started in 2017 at $62,600, and then in 2018 it jumped to $100,000, and then in 2019 it jumped to $282,000. So last year alone was a 183% increase. So what I did is I said, okay, 30%. That's going to go up 30%, which I think you can see based on the trend, it's going to go up way more than that. And then the regular sales tax, I'm proposing, even though we've seen an increase every year, going down negative 1.13%. The lodging tax is not being changed at all, except proposing the original amount for 7%, which is similar to all of the neighboring cities. And that would add $175,000, which we split equally between inside and outside the city limits.
Well, as we discussed in the last work session, we're adding revenue from a lodging tax that hasn't even been enacted yet.
That's what we're saying. We're proposing that for the budget.
And I think that the council's consensus at the meeting on Monday was that we didn't want to add revenue for an ordinance that hasn't even been passed. I believe it was $350,000. The other thing that we made real clear was that we wanted to see some cuts to this budget, and as of now, I'm seeing, instead of budget cuts, we're seeing revenue projections, still going up. We had them on Monday.
They went down. But I'm just saying, based on these figures, though, these are the only three revenue sources that are in question, based on what y'all wanted to lower it. And that's why. I mean, the sales tax is being lowered. Y'all had it at about 0%. I'm saying that it's, in this one, I'm saying negative 1.13. Where the sales tax increase will most definitely increase is online sales. That's still being very conservative. It's just breaking it out for more information.
What is your basis for wanting to increase the online sales tax by?
No, we don't increase it. That's what we get from the state.
Not the rate of it increase, the projected income from that.
It's based on the projections from, it just started in 2017. In 2018, it went up 60%. In 2019, it went up 183%.
There were some very large online retailers that, made an agreement with the state of Alabama to start collecting that. Has there been some other legislation that makes us believe that we're going to see a, roughly $100,000 increase? And the bottom line is, you don't raise revenue projections to meet budget, and that's what this is doing.
We do the revenue first. But it's based on that trend. We know that it's going to increase. I mean, online sales increase exponentially, and we're going to have another year. I mean, I think that, what would you like that to be from 183%?
Yeah.
Do you think it'll just stay the same or go down?
At the budget meeting on Monday, we said that 2020 budget revenue for all categories needs to be $30 million.
But you didn't have this information.
We need it to be $30 million. Council, what is y'all's pleasure? I'm ready to move on and just make our own cuts since we didn't
I
get any
haven't gone
cuts
over
this
the
week.
cuts yet. I'm saying, look at this first before we go to the cuts.
I think we were
Because
very,
this is very, like, this is more conservative than what y'all have because you didn't have the two sales tax incomes broken out.
When you use these numbers, where does that put us in regards to the $30 million?
Using these revenue numbers, I believe
Is that
that's
still the 30.4 and change?
Or 30.7 it was when we went in on Monday, and then we thought we got it down to about 30.4.
It's 30,244,800 right now.
With these numbers in?
Yes. No, that's not true.
No, they were,
The lodging tax is not in. None of Mayor's proposals as far as increases are in here.
Okay.
so the 100,000 increase in property taxes after we cut the prediction, the 289,000, which may have been the online sales, I'm not sure, it's local taxes. After we had asked to reduce it 116,000, was increased 289,502. And we can go round and round with revenue projections, they're just projections, and
You didn't have some of this broken out. I mean, that's all I'm saying is the regular sales tax I'm projecting on here lower than your 0%. I said negative 1.13%. And Kim recommended 3%.
3% overall as being very conservative of
Well, I
sales
think
tax. I mean,
that-
that's just what I've done in the past. But back on the simplified sellers use tax, the law changed January 1. So in January 1, the League of Municipalities last year had negotiated to reduce that allocation. So the cities was to increase more of the sales tax because it used to be, it was split. 2% went to the counties, 2% went to the cities, and then it was allocated based on population. So that changed, and they did a more shift where the municipalities get more money. And then the market sellers places, now they are required to go into the program. So January 1 is when we started seeing additional money. So we don't really have a full 12 months collections since that law was passed. So that is a little different, that you could see some increase in the SSUT tax. But on being a conservative amount, if you take that in total and increase by 3%, you're very conservative budget.
And the total on 3% would be I think we had 3% in there already.
You're saying the entire sales tax, meaning online and?
Yes, that would be very conservative. 3 to 4% would be a conservative rate. We're currently in total, from last year to this year, it's up 9%. So on that graph that I did, I showed collections by month, by year, and you can see from year to year historically what it's been for the city.
I've got a lot of numbers here. So the 2019 actual on that total local taxes did come out to, I think, 11.11, Jill. It was 10.9. And if I added all those numbers that you and Kim and I looked at just a moment before the meeting started, came out to like 11.1.
Yes.
So that's the actual,
roundabout.
so leaving that flat, roughly leaving that flat, I don't have a problem with that. This number right here, if you take what we got Monday, and you look at the 2019 actual, it said 10.931. and then there was a budget of 11,016, and the revised is 11,189,502. Yeah, I guess based on that information, I don't have a real problem with that. It's you know, it's so close that it's not even worth messing with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at, just talking about that sales tax for a second. I mean, if you look at the actuals for 2019, it equals a little over 99.1 million. And if you take that as 3%, you get 9.5 and change.
Well, we did put that in there.
Right, it's at 9.1, so that
And
still
is it-
seems to be.
based on that, you would have to make any cuts.
Yeah,
But we're
that's-
saying we did make cuts, and there's other things to consider in here that I can
Okay.
go over.
All right, so on the total property taxes, the budget is up about 7%. And I know that we get those from the tax assessor's office, and those are somewhat pretty accurate. I think we had cut it from about 155, and we put 100,000 back in. That's really starting to split hairs there too. So we're at 30,000,002 something. Jill?
30,244,800.
And that gives a surplus of what?
But that is with the real estate taxes at 5.6 versus 5.7.
Well, he said to just, I mean, that's
Go
misunderstood
with,
you.
go with 5.7 or 5.6? Because Mayor originally proposed 5.7.
Which is 3% lower than the 5.87 that Teddy Bowles gave us.
And y'all said 5.6. And so right now, revenue is at 30,244,000, but that's with the 5.6, not the 5.7.
But he said sales tax. Keep what Kim is proposing or keep what I'm proposing in this, which is still lower than what we had before.
Their 9.183 is higher than your 9.164. If you add
Right,
the 8.7 and the 367, so
Right.
All right, let's stop talking about that for a second. You mentioned some cuts.
Mhm.
Let's kind of see where we go there.
Yeah, we're at either one, just real, while we're thinking about that in context too, so you had a 5.7 in there, or a 5.6 with the 30.244?
5.6.
5.6, it's figured at 5.6.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, so you're looking at 245 or 345 then? That's what we're talking about, cuts.
Right.
Okay,
So with
245 at what we proposed, 345 at what the mayor
Right.
proposed. Okay.
Right.
correct.
But with the sales tax, if we go lower, a negative 1%, do you want to either do the 3% proposed conservative estimate from Kim, or keep what I've proposed in here, which is negative 1%, but with the online sales tax increasing?
And just, these that are in this spreadsheet we just got, these are actuals, not budgeted?
Yeah, the fiscal year
FY
19.
2019 are actually.
Okay.
I mean, it's to even say it's really, I mean, admittedly, kind of splitting hairs there on that online. I mean, what's the number? I mean, but I tend to like to err on the low side. I mean, so if I made up a number, it'd be splitting hairs, you know? I mean, if I was to say something between 283 and 367, where the number may fall, it may be 500, I don't know. The trend certainly shows it going up, but I don't know.
So I'm saying Kim proposed 3% on everything. Because it was, the total amount, online and regular, sales tax was up 9%, 5%, 5%, 9%? It was a 9% increase.
9, 5,
last
and
year.
9.
Okay. So, I mean, it was increased last year of 9%. I mean, even if you.
I would use the low number on the sales tax, and, I mean, I can live with the online tax, if you have, that'd be my answer.
Okay, so.
And then
Can you
what,
put that in, just to see totals while I go into the rest of this?
You want the 916, let's just round it off, 9165?
Well,
Yeah. That's the increase. I think that's right, Jill. That's the negative 1.13
I thought-
in sales, and then
Right.
the increase, the 30% increase.
is that the 8.797
Yes.
plus 0.36?
Yes.
Okay.
9164
Yeah.
and change.
So I'm only adding 18,744 to get, no, I'm decreasing it.
But now that lodging tax over there has, so that number.
Right, 9165.
the lodging tax, I'm proposing 7% like our neighbors. And that would add 175,000. Otherwise, I'm adding that 175,000 to flat numbers, keeping 2019 the same.
Right. But it results in a fairly significant, 20% increase. I don't think it's wise to budget a number when you haven't passed an ordinance to increase tax.
But that's your, y'all's decision, y'all can discuss and pass the budget.
Sure, but I mean, I think, in my personal feelings, anytime we increase fees of any kind, and I understand this one's a little different because it's passed on to generally non-residents, that, there's a process that comes with that, and including meetings and whatnot, and you never know what the reaction you can anticipate a reaction, but I have learned that you can never fully appreciate what that reaction might
Just
be.
to add
until
to
you
it,
listen to it.
lodging tax increased from 15 to 16, 8%. From, in 2017, 8%, 5% in, let's see, 2015 to 16, 8%, 8% in 2017, 5% in 2018, 50% in 2019 because we increased the lodging tax. There is a trend moving up. I'm saying it's 0.
Mhm.
So if you don't want to consider the 1%,
I'm trying to get you that
I
number
think
right now.
you should probably consider increasing lodging.
Well, should we budget without it, and then if we
The
consider?
increase is not in here.
Okay.
I'm trying to give you that.
Okay.
If you did,
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't agree with the idea of increasing it, I just think there's a process that comes with that, I wouldn't want to budget that money and then there'd be some public outcry against it, and then we
I
reconsider.
don't think you're gonna get any public outcry because nobody in our citizens won't be affected by that.
That's what, you probably are right, but I have seen uproars over things I expected none from, and silence
But
over
they're not
things I
paying, they
expected.
live here.
so Jill, if you did an 8% increase on the lodging taxes, on the current rate, you would reduce that income by 90,000
Total,
total. Yeah.
on her 573 and 688.
Yeah, the 573 would be roughly 525, and the 688 would be 648. So that's a $90,000 revenue cut. That's with an 8% increase in projections, which is pretty sporty. So you'd have
So
to add,
just add that in there so we can get to the,
so you have to add that 90 back to the 245 or 345.
because the proposed increase is not in that budget, correct?
Right,
Okay.
so I'm adding it to the 500 and the 550.
Right.
500 and 550.
That's the
It's in-
original,
it's
that's
in our-
keeping it flat.
Oh, okay. Well, keeping it flat was 485 and 600.
Right, but,
And I did an 8% increase on that.
right.
It said
So
that
just-
one
just
went to
add that,
525 and the other
however
to
The
648.
total adds up.
Jack, you're saying add 90 total?
No,
to last
there was
year.
a $175,000 plus.
That's not in the budget that we have already, but that's what I'm saying, she's gotta do the edit based on what you just said.
Add a total of how much to the base, the 500 and the 550?
Just do 8%. To the
That's still a
four
little,
eighty-five
that's still a little rosy,
and
but
the 600 from 2019.
Yeah, that puts, yeah. Okay.
if you put that in there, what does that bring? That brings that revenue up somewhat.
I'm still not following.
So.
I need everybody to slow down.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm just saying, right here, 2019. This is lodging only. You're gonna add 8% to get what they
I didn't know
want to
if we
see.
were taking it off of their proposal, the 500 and the 550?
Yeah, this-
Or-
Are you doing it off the 500 or 550 or what I proposed?
Are you taking?
Or off the actuals? Yeah, I mean, you do it off the actuals. These are the actuals.
Right, let me see something there. Okay, all right. we'll stay right there.
32.
Here's what I did.
Huh? That's all my crap. You need some room?
That was the act. Yeah, that was the
So
actual.
we need to do 8%.
And I did 8%, which comes to that.
You don't make
Roughly.
it.
25.
And then that right there, 8% of that is 48,000, so 648.
So we
So,
want to add 25 to the 500.
and so what I did like here, let's see, that was projected at 573.
Mm-hmm.
So that's roughly 50,000 less. It's 48,000
Gotcha.
left. And this 688, that's 40,000 less.
I got
So
you.
I had 90,000 off of that right there.
Okay, so we need to make it be this 525 and 648.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is actually gonna increase it on what's in there, right?
Put the right numbers in.
We're casual today, just walking around, taking care of business. Kind of like being in the office, isn't it?
Okay. So now the lodging tax inside, or just the regular is 525 and the PJ is 648.
Okay, so the other thing that we missed in Public Works is that there's an additional $1 per month increase starting in January for sanitation. And that was added already, 94,500 was missed and overlooked. If they
680, 648.
Yeah, 648.
So when we reviewed the Public Works budget again, the 1% increase that starts in January for sanitation was not added to the budget, that revenue, and that's 94,500. And that's keeping no additional customers, which is not gonna happen.
Right. Yeah, room service.
And then I deleted city admin and want to, I don't know if you want to give a deadline for the fire department, but the $330,000 is still in the budget.
And it's still up in the air. I've asked them. They haven't
Yeah,
given an
I
answer.
don't know if,
I think we should keep it in for now.
Okay.
It gives us a cushion. It's a 1% cushion.
so I'm not sure where we are.
61,000 surplus.
With a revenue of what?
The revenue is 30.3.
what this won't take in consideration too is, that we are gonna do a survey. Richard's going to present the cost to keep the service we have now in sanitation, and then do the 1 day per week, and y'all can make that decision next year. But, that's just something that we wanna make sure we take care of while that deficit continues to grow. We wanna try to cover 90% of the expenses through the fees. So, and that's not figured into any of this. So there's plenty of cushions, in addition to considering the 1% lodging tax.
Robert, you've been mighty quiet.
Trying to catch up.
Anybody have any direction they'd like to suggest?
I think we're pretty, I think we're pretty much there. If you were to drop it 100,000, then you wind up with a deficit of 30 or 40,000. I mean, I think it's close enough to me. And the 60,000 surplus, and that may or may not happen. But then you won't hire everybody, we know.
We're not gonna hire
Instantly,
everybody,
so-
but like I said, that doesn't count other things that we know are gonna happen too, or
Right.
likely happen. So the cushion's definitely, I mean, last year, the proposed budget was a surplus of 13,000, and we still met it. If it says a $700,000 deficit, it's because of the $1 million transfer from, the debt service fund. We really had a $300,000 surplus, and we've met our budget every single year this term.
But you always have, like $200,000 or $300,000 worth of unbudgeted expenses. They happen, doors need to be repaired, fuse
Wall
panel
falls
blew, something. And we have things that are budgeted that we know we need, but I don't know how much contingency we have. So that's why sometimes that other, I know it's 1%, but sometimes that additional $200,000 or $300,000 helps, and it shouldn't be hard to find that, to cut it. And I feel like we came in here, we left the meeting wanting cuts Monday, and we come in here and we've been talked into raising revenue projections.
They're still lower than they were on Monday, though.
Yeah, so what has to
Give
be,
y'all more
yeah, what
information.
needs to be, so you have to make some cuts to get to 30.3 then, right?
No, I think Jill's saying
They've already made the cuts.
they've already made some cuts. And
Based on
we're
what
at
y'all have already
yeah,
discussed.
At 30.3, we're at a $60,000 surplus.
Right.
Do we have a list of those cuts?
City admin. There
That's
was,
the thing, is we didn't have time to put it all together, but it's in your budget.
There
City
was-
admin's gonna be under general government.
let me see if I can.
That's the one that's the 81,019, Jill, reduction?
That's
Mr. Chairman,
140.
we did take $30,000 out of salaries in streets. That was an anticipation of the transition from the assistant public works director. We just realized that that's just a luxury we don't have to have. It's not a loss, especially if we hire within. It's probably not going to be needed anyway. We did go back and visit recycle carts, or garbage carts and recycle, and took that down to 40,000, which is an additional $15,000 cut.
And the other department cuts too.
So we went and
Over.
tightened it up as much as we could, so.
Can we get those changes?
I think the only really two there were the city admin was taken out.
The
So
department cuts, those that everybody emailed you, were those not taken out then?
they
Yeah,
were in
so
that
it's
budget
basically
on
this-
Monday.
Gotcha,
This
gotcha.
sheet right here revised is what I was
Gotcha.
talking about. What
Right.
does this sheet that we got Friday, that you emailed Friday, what does that sheet look like now? If we can get that.
The summary page.
I'm not asking to see it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the summary pages.
So, on expenses.
Because that revised proposed, when we got it, was at 30.617 million.
The revenue?
Yeah.
The revenue,
You have to
yeah.
also take in consideration that we added 94,500 for the dollar increase in sanitation.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
That's what I'm
fine.
saying, but
Just
you have to
show.
take both.
I'm not questioning any of the numbers right now. I'm just saying, let's just, so we can look at them one more time. It's a lot easier to look at them on this. I've got blood all over this paper.
Do you want me to try to
Lost
go ahead and
myself.
print this first page?
You can do it. You can do it. You know, you don't have to do it today. We're not gonna
Okay.
put a resolution on the
Okay.
agenda tonight to pass it.
But unless you want to take it with you, she prints it out and get them.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that if you want.
Okay.
Anything else, council, on this for now? All right, let's move into our work session. We haven't had one in weeks. A real one, other than this work. Jimmy, any committee updates?
Thank you, Joe.
You know, I probably should have some, I actually don't, just because I've been looking at budget stuff instead, so, I can have some stuff I can email out to y'all
Okay.
in the next week or so with some updates.
Okay. Robert?
Yeah, the Education Advisory Committee is in discussion of dissolving and forming the Fairhope School Commission that will be, required under the special tax district that just passed. It'll be a 9-member commission, be appointed by the council. I think currently there's maybe 4 current EAC members that have agreed to stay on. Just like the EAC.
If appointed, you mean?
If appointed. Just like the EAC, it's, supposed to be people pulled from each school district. The EAC currently is represented from each school, so that's what they're in the talks with some of the people from the county school, make sure we're on the right track.
Did you say when that had to be done?
I cannot remember the date. There's plenty of time, but
That's
they're
6
going to
months,
go
8
ahead.
months?
They're going to go ahead and do it according to the people at the county school board said it
When does that 3 meal tax kick in, Robert?
this year.
So it starts
Yeah.
now?
Mhm.
Start in
And
October?
then they can plan on it next year.
It kicks in this year, but they don't get it till next year.
Right. Yeah, okay. All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Kevin?
Harbor Board got moved from Monday, this past Monday to, Linda, when's the Harbor Board next week?
16th.
Is it the 15th?
16th.
16th, Wednesday the 16th. 4:30?
4:30.
That's always the question, 4:30 or 4?
4:30. Always 4:30.
But I'm skipping.
You skip.
Anyway, we have a Harbor Board meeting on the 16th at 4:30 in the Delshant room. If anybody would like to come and sit in. Other than that, that's it.
Okay. Jay?
I mentioned this at the meeting on Monday, but I'll mention it again. The Recreation Board met on Wednesday of last week and listened to a presentation about potential, some renovations at Valana for baseball, for some short-term assistance while we prepare for some longer-term plans, and they voted unanimously to make those improvements. And although I don't get a vote, I agreed with them.
Is that a recommendation?
That is a recommendation to the city council.
I don't know if it's the reason I'm correct, especially in the planning commission, there always seems to be this misnomer that the planning commission approved this or that, when sometimes they're approving it and sometimes they're voted to make a recommendation of approval. Anything else, Jay?
That's all I've got.
That'll be in the next meeting.
What is that? What will
Recommendation.
be on the next council
Council
meeting?
meeting.
Okay. All right, I don't have any committee updates. I did want to talk about one thing. I've received a couple of phone calls, and it's funny, kind of coming on the heels of the rec board, and it has to do with, different leagues or organizations using ballparks. And something I want to impress upon, I'm going to speak to the staff now for a moment, is that before somebody uses city anything, they have to get permission from the city council. Nobody can unilaterally let some private citizen or organization use any of our facilities. And keep in mind, and if you don't know this, get with the clerk, we have franchise agreements. So if somebody's using a field that's outside the normal use of the city use or for personal gain, they have to have a franchise agreement. There's a process, an application, and they have to get approval from the council, and then there's some revenue sharing for that. Pat, if you want to get with me, I'll tell you some of those concerns that I got some phone calls. They may not be legitimate, because I said, these people may have an actual right, so I wanted to look into that a little bit as to what exactly the complaints were. They may not be valid, so to protect the people that they were complaining about, that has to be vetted before we say that that's going on. And then the other thing that we talked about in here several weeks ago now, probably a couple of meetings ago, and we didn't make a decision, but the decision, it looks like it's been made, and I need to talk to the council about this, is the Christmas parade being moved from a Friday night to a Saturday night. And Mayor, I don't disagree that you have two nights instead of one for the city to generate revenue, but I've had a lot of complaints from people that are involved with the parade, participants in the parade. A lot of people complaining the SEC championship game is on that day. I don't think it's at the same time, but if people have been overserved, they probably aren't going to come out to the parade. If Alabama team is in there and that team happens to lose the national championship, they may not come out to the parade or First Friday. So
That's generally not an issue for Alabama.
it won't be an issue for my team, I'm sure, but for some of you teams,
It was
may
last
be
year,
an
Jay.
issue.
Might be more of a
They did not lose
celebration,
the
I'm just
SEC
kidding.
championship last year.
But
So
yeah,
I really-
First Friday, though, is a huge economic impact, and there are a lot of merchants that are happy to see the change.
Yeah.
So this was done with that communication as well.
I know that there was a communication. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing, and I think the decision was made without the council granting, the closing of the streets for parades, and that's supposed to come before council for, of closing of the streets and the sidewalks, and that, while I'm not making a big deal about that, I don't necessarily think that was done properly. We didn't bless that. And so before it's too late, I want to know if the council has any desire to change that. And let me say this real quick. Robert Brown had proposed leaving the parade, and he said this weeks ago, I believe, in a work session. He's proposed leaving the parade on Friday night and simply moving First Friday to Saturday night.
I don't know that it's not too late to move it now, since it's been advertised in multiple city brochures and whatnot. I've heard the complaints. Some people very upset about it, but I don't know that there's a perfect answer either way. I mean, I think there's people that are pro and against, and I don't know. There's no way to make everybody happy, and I just, if it was strictly up to me in the front end, I would have said leave it where it is. But now we're 2 months from the parade or less. I don't know that you can move it at this point.
I had a member that I was driving for a good while today, and I spoke to a member of the Christmas Parade Committee, and they said if advertising is your concern, it should not be a concern, that if they needed to get the word out that it was back on Friday, that they could handle it. That was a quote. I'm just afraid the Saturday night, Daphne has their parade so as not to coincide with us. I don't know if Robertsdale, or I had heard that Robertsdale may have it on the same night, but I can't confirm that, so that was rumor. So we do know that we're on the same night as Daphne. I believe Daphne had moved it. If we want to have two events, is there harm in having the Christmas parade on the historic day and then having First Friday on Saturday?
I don't think there is. I thought it was a very good idea personally. I kind of laughed at it when brought up, but I thought it was a good idea. I would like to leave the parade the same day. If advertising is not a problem, you know, I don't see how it would be in 2 months. You can't get the right date the week before. We get the date right. I think it'd be fine to move it back to the original day.
Well, I think, that's why I'm asking y'all, I'm asking for a straw poll, because if that's gonna happen, we need to act like right now.
Jack, may I step in?
Yes, Jessica?
So, we already have applications out for this. The applications have been out, and we've received probably a dozen applications back in at this point for that Saturday day. We also found out today that Daphne has moved their time of their parade back to I think 11 a.m. that morning. You know, whatever you choose to do as a council, we would understand, but just know that the process is kind of already going at this point with applications.
And I was aware of that, and that committee member did say, if we have to call every single one of them and tell them that it's Saturday, they would do it.
Sure.
Because
And let me say this, I think I'm.
You're the liaison.
You are.
Yeah, you are.
I am. I mean, the response I got from the committee was they would rather have it on Friday night. And I'm not saying that's from every single member, but from the majority, I believe that was the recommendation. But that has been done informally, and that was not through a meeting or anything. I don't think it meets. We don't meet regularly for Christmas parade committees.
yeah, and so that's why my speech prior to, this kind of, this ran a little bit counter to the way that we do these things.
Sure.
And this thing was changed, and, there was some discussion, and I really wish we had said something. I personally want to move it to Friday night, where it's been. The organizations that I've talked to have a lot of heartache with moving it.
And like I said, it's done, we've tried to do it every year this year, but there was always been something that conflicted, and this is about the economic impact for the city. When you have visitors for the whole weekend, that contributes to our budget that taxpayers don't have to pay.
Which is exactly why we can have a special First Friday on
Right.
Saturday.
I mean, we could do that, but the other thing is that I have been hearing from merchants for a very long time that they hate to see First Friday, because even if you change it and you advertise it, First Friday, that's what people remember, is First Friday. So, I think you can advertise it, it's already kind of a busy time of year, I just think that if we're gonna do a formal survey, I think it should be done with the people, the businesses that are being impacted.
I don't know if
Here's my other thought,
I
that
don't think we have
if you kept the Christmas parade on Friday night, people come in town obviously for the parade, they're not gonna come all day. There might be a smaller portion that comes in for all day, but if you did some kind of special Saturday, as opposed to a First Friday where it's just after work people, I think it could be beneficial for the downtown merchants where it's promoted all day. Art walk.
Art walk, you're
Yep.
saying? Okay, I was a little
Yeah.
confused.
Shopping
Oh.
day, art walk,
But yeah, I mean,
restaurants
that-
and merchants.
We're already open, most people are already open, so it's not something
Not a draw.
special
Right.
that you're doing, but.
You're saying some kind of promotion to get people
Right.
in
Extended
town
hours.
Right.
extra during the day.
And we've
keep
been
them
doing
there
that.
through Art Walk.
We keep it very
Bring Santa
active.
Claus.
That
Everybody
may
loves Santa
actually be a
Claus.
Santa
Yeah,
Santa
I think
Saturday.
it is.
I actually think it
Santa
is a Santa Saturday.
Jay, you still have your elf suit?
All right, if we're really gonna move this ball or we're not, I need to know if y'all wanna take some action.
You heard me.
Jimmy? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. To me, I know that there were some people complaining early on, but are we too far down the road or not? That'll be the question. And I haven't talked to enough merchants to know what their opinion is, so.
Well, I'd say just logistically from the staff standpoint, I mean, we already have the ball in motion at this point, and we're, 2 months out, almost 2 months to the day, and changing it at this point may be problematic. I understand that you've spoken with members of that committee, but from a staff standpoint, I would say, whether it was the right move to change it or not, that's where we are, and it would be really great if we could stay the course at this point.
I would say I'm very sorry, but I'd go the other way and say, I'm so sorry, Jessica, but that's what I would say. But I don't know why we changed it. I mean, I don't know why we feel like we have to change every tradition we have. It's always been Friday, and you could even argue, you said it's all about economics. Well, I think it's all about a celebration that the city should have, and that's kind of an amenity, and we're making a compromise by trying to have an event on Saturday as well. I really don't know that the parade would be that well attended on the Saturday, when it's always been, two things, historically been on a Friday. People know it's on a Friday, and there's that big ball game, and it just may not have the impact that we want on Saturday. And I'd rather we have First Fridays 12 times a year, 11 or 12 times a year. We have one Christmas parade. I'd rather see the Christmas parade have greater chance of success and not, I don't know, that's what I said. But anyway, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do, because I can't get everybody to decide, is I'm gonna ask maybe Marcus or Alicia to draft a resolution and try to walk it on today, because I think we didn't answer it today. We put it to bed, or we either leave it as it is or we change it. We don't have time to wait. That's what I think we're gonna do. And thank you, Jessica. All right. Department heads, Richard, you're on the front row.
Yes, just a couple of things you did. I think Lisa shared with you. As you know, y'all worked with us and allowed us to apply for an A-Trip 2 grant application for improvements at Twin Beach and US Highway 98. Statistically speaking, there was 147 applications, 28 were granted, and ours was one of them. And I think we were the only one in Baldwin County. So I don't know if we just got lucky or we were good, but I'm not going to argue with the outcome. So.
And I believe it came out literally twice that it was Gayfer, but in the third time it came out, they got it right.
That's correct.
Twin Beach.
Yes, and so, I would like to be able to tell you what I thought the timeline, but this is even though it has the same name as the program they did a couple of years ago, it's a whole different program, so hopefully we're going to get a briefing about the steps we have to go through to move that forward, and I will keep you abreast of that. Yeah, I'm sure you've noticed the two TAP projects that we applied for and got in 16 and 17 are underway out on County Road 13 as well as on Twin Beach, and they're really making progress. The east-west on Twin Beach, that section is about completed. They'll move to Manly and complete that. And the section coming from the Fairhope Soccer Complex going north is almost to Twin Beach, and then we'll be jumping over and going up to Sedgefield. So we're excited about that. And one of the things we kind of hinted to Councilman Brown at the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee and the mayors, we definitely, when those get completed, we want to have a Saturday morning ribbon cutting when it's cooler and invite everybody out and let's go for a walk and kind of celebrate opening those up. So that's kind of the grant updates, and we did last week have the official kickoff of the BP Restore Act Bucket 1. And we had the folks from the state as well as Treasury in that met with the team, and the next thing that's going to occur is we're going to ask the group that was assigned by y'all, your representative being Mr. Conyers, is there's going to be a little bit of a meeting with the design professionals to kind of start laying out, and because one of the first steps is defining the actual scope of work, and then once there's some conceptual ideas, then there will be community engagement that hopefully then better define that down, and of course we'll keep you abreast of every step. So we're excited that contracts are signed, we're blessed by the state and the feds, and we are actually starting to do something. And the design team has been released to start doing survey and geotechnical sampling, because that's some information we're going to have to start making the scope of work decisions. So that one is actually starting to become a reality. And on the alley project, we finally got blessing on some key steps today. We've got a couple of pieces of paperwork to turn in. One of the things that they are doing, but they're paying for, is they've asked for a third-party independent cost analysis, so we're working on getting that done. And hopefully that will be kind of the last step, so that we will be getting ready to finish up the design and getting that out to bid. So it is slowly but surely moving forward if they don't find something else to ask for. So excited about that. And that's really all I have at this point in time.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, sir.
2 loads of dirt.
I'll get with you first thing in the morning.
Richard, what about the K1 Center survey, structural survey? Do we get that back?
I was promised it last week. I didn't, and I meant to give him a call. I know that I was hoping for it looks like we're close to having some work session time, maybe the next one, to talk about this. I'm going to ask them to let me know when they're ready. I know the one last thing that they said they were held up on was they were waiting for the lab test back on asbestos, and they thought they would have it last week, and I just hadn't heard anything. I will follow up and find out.
Gotcha.
But we want to get them in front of y'all and kind of let y'all know what the assessment yields.
Who's doing that?
That is Watermark and Thompson. Watermark is their architectural envelope, part of Thompson Engineering. So, thank you.
Ms. Mazur, do you have anything?
Nothing new since my email report to all of you on the fuel sales. We do
Okay.
expect that the bulkhead work will begin shortly,
Yes.
and looking forward to that. We have, by the way, today I mailed out 400 brochures and visitors guides to 5 different marinas upriver to catch the looper business. I'm going to take personally copies up to Bobby's Fish Camp, because we need to talk with them face to face, and Sean's going to take them to Demopolis, because that's another one that needs a face to face conversation. But we're doing that as sort of soft marketing, but this will be the first hard thing that the loopers will have in their hands as they come down the river system this season.
Okay. Patrick?
I don't really have anything new to report. If you have questions for me, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Buford?
No, sir. No, sir.
Mr. Peterson?
Well, yeah, we are working on our bid for the side stream storage thing. One of the properties that's coming up on the agenda tonight. We put out an addendum to put off the bid a couple of weeks to look at the interior coatings that they're talking about putting on. We're trying to offer 2 options, one bolted steel tank and one welded steel tank, and the coating systems on the bolted tanks are powder-coated epoxy with some heat applications to cure it. And so I became uncomfortable with a couple of questions we had about it, and I'm doing more study on that. But, you know, getting all the details put together for the final product, we're still in the process of doing some of that design work too, and trying to find parameters by which aeration of influent wastewater is appropriate for equalization type basins, and trying to make sure we get it right, basically. So we're going to put it off just long enough to make sure we do the right thing when it comes to getting the bids in for what we need. And so to give you an update on that. But
Is this a new coating? The one you're referring to?
Now, the Tnemec coating that we're talking about doesn't, it's a 100% solids coating. So there's no paint thinners or other types of compounds in the coating itself. And that's supposed to resist the hydrogen sulfide gas better.
And you know I smile.
And you know that, I mean.
Biggest thing, it always works out for a day and then.
Well, I know, and that's
That's
why
some tough
I'm
stuff down there,
cautious
bro.
about it.
We're all aware of it. You're doing it. I know you're doing the best you can. That's why I was just wondering. Sometimes they come in preaching a brand new product that's gonna work
Right.
real well.
And I'm trying to be cautious about all of that. But, you know, you look at the ASTM testing information and you try to look at the product. I'm trying to find one that's been installed close
That's the
enough to
test that
actually
I
go
wanna see,
look
is the one
at.
that's been in the ground for 20 years.
Well, and
it
that's-
still looks the same as it did.
Right, and I'm trying to
Like
look
stainless
back.
steel. You go down there and look at those bolts, stainless steel bolts, and they look the same the day you put them in,
Right.
30 years later. It does not
And I
affect
think
the
even Jack mentioned what type of stainless steel is.
I
There's
was about
even-
to ask you, it depends on which type of stainless.
Well, whatever that stainless they're using,
There's
brother,
about-
I tell you, I've been
I know
enough
there's
of them
3 or
to know
4
they
different
look
designations,
like
and
the
they'll
day
have a.
You put them in, and you do a little cleaning, it's.
But we are
it's
working
slidey,
on
buddy.
it. And,
Not a pit in it. You know, and it's a shame that you can't, do a surface like that because, the quickest thing to gall is a bolt coming off stainless steel that's got a thread of sand in it.
Mhm.
And when you clean these things up, there's no pits, there's nothing on it. It's just,
Right.
they're absolutely perfect. It's a shame we can't cause something of that nature.
They just cost a lot of extra money. If you're talking about stainless steel tank now, I mean, it is a pretty good bit of money. But, yeah, and
It don't go nowhere.
I've kind of figured that's probably not the best route to take, although I'm happy to have an alternate for that if we want to look at it. But on a positive note, we got the odor control filter system in at the Twin Beach station, and I've been by there a couple of times along the way, and I think it has made a difference. So hopefully we'll be able to at least wave to the people on the front porch when we go by, knowing that we're not causing them any grief.
Shot at?
And that
this,
they
or
wave-
get shot at.
They wave with all 5 fingers as opposed to.
Yeah, they're telling us we're number 1, right?
That's right, that's right. It's encouragement.
But anyway, y'all got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. We're working too, one of the things on the agenda is to extend the force main work that we're doing with the first project. We hope to be able to get out toward 104 and the North Hills project is going on, but there's also, we're talking about developing the corner there, so hopefully that'll be something that we can start working on. And I think the last item is the transfer of the maintenance requirements of the lift station at the apartments at Battles and Section. And they've done a lot of work to help try to get it to a point where we feel comfortable enough accepting. It's not everything we wanted, but, I think it's important that we maintain the lift station, and that's where we are with that, so.
Excellent. All right.
But that's all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Jay? Okay. Mike?
The only thing I have is we got our first transformer in, at Twin Beach. And so it's sitting on a temporary pad until we get the contract out for the construction.
Okay. And the new location?
It'll be in Twin Beach, it's gonna replace one of the existing ones. So we're replacing 2 transformers in Twin Beach.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of Nichols, never
We're
mind.
replacing
Yeah.
2 of the transformers at Twin Beach.
Right.
And this one is, and the Nichols
Right.
ones will be in at the end of October.
Right. Okay. Eric? Okay. Chief? Okay. Jessica?
I'll make it really brief. We are accepting applications now for Veteran of the Year and for Christmas Parade. Those applications are available on the Community and Economic Development website page. Farmers Market's going on right now every Thursday from 3 to 6 through November the 14th. We've got lighting of the trees 1 week later, so that's exciting. Downtown Trick or Treat is the 26th from 10 until noon. In preparation for all of these busy things, we're closing the Welcome Center down on this Friday at 5 p.m. And we'll reopen it 10 days later on the 21st at 8 a.m. We're going to go in there. We're going to get it good and cleaned up and refreshed as we head into this busy holiday season. I know we've got a larger, hopefully we'll have a larger revamp project on the horizon, but this is just a kind of easy way to get in and really refresh it before we have people in. The other thing I want to mention is, we've been working with the National Park Service. We received a technical grant, a grant for technical assistance. We were selected in this competitive process nationwide against lots of other applicants. We're starting the second year of that, and as such, we are about to start workshops. Those workshops will be held on November the 7th from 1 to 3 at the Nick Center, and again from 4:30 to 6:30 at the Mill. We're asking for all of our community to kind of come in and help us determine locations of future trails and destinations along trail routes, kind of desired recreational trails and features and amenities for the trail system here in the city of Fairhope. The goal of this and our end result is going to be this comprehensive connectivity master plan that we can then implement here in the city. And finally, Jim Bates is the director of the Nick Center, and his last day with us is October the 31st. So if you see him out and about between now and Halloween, please tell him thank you for the service to the city. We'll miss him very much, but he's done a great job here for us. And one more thing is later this month, you will begin to hear about Neighborhood Bridges. It's an online platform that we'll be launching here in the city. It's a way for us to meet needs within the community. And we'll have more information on that as it comes through, but we'll be using trusted advocates within the city to help post these needs to this website. We'll have people from Neighborhood Bridges from Hoover and also from Ohio, the original founder of this idea. They'll be in town in 2 weeks to do trusted advocate training, and I'm hopeful that each one of you will get an opportunity to meet with them so that they can give you a little bit more information on it. So, thank you.
November 15th is at the museum.
That's exactly right. Our 125th anniversary party is November the 15th from 3 to 4:30 at the museum. You will all get an invitation. We want you to be there, but we've got our volunteers who are members of the Friends group. Also, lots of people who really love the city of Fairhope will be there. We'll have cupcakes and some giveaways. And leading up to that, we're asking for Fairhope citizens to give us their Fairhope story. I'd still love all of yours. I have yours. We just haven't put it up yet. But we're asking people to give us their Fairhope stories and tell us why you love the city of Fairhope, what it is about this place that really draws you here. So you can send those to 125th. That's 125th at fairhopeal.gov. Or you can just call me. We can make it work. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, let's go ahead and adjourn. We set up on time, start on time tonight.